You're on, Sarah.
Wonderful. We'll just give Councilwoman Villagran a few seconds to join us via video, and then we'll get started. All right, great. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Trade Talks, a quarterly program by the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation to bring you up-to-date information on international trade with insights from special guests. My name is Sarah Sanchez, Executive Vice President of Global Development at SAEDF. Joining me to bring you this program is Carlos Arquin, Senior Vice President of Trade and Investment. Carlos and I will be monitoring the chat, so please use the chat function to engage with our speakers and ask any questions. Serving as MC of this morning's Trade Talks is Councilwoman Rebecca Villagran, co-chair of the SAEDF International Advisory Council and representative of District 3. Councilwoman Villagran will be introducing our speakers we have lined up to speak. But before I turn it over to Councilwoman Villagran, our agenda for this morning is as follows. Our two sponsors of today's Trade Talks, CPS Energy and Cachot, Cavazos and Newton, will provide business development updates. Our feature presentation with Consul General Minuti will follow. We will then have time for Q&A and some announcements. I will now turn it over to Councilwoman Villagran to introduce the sponsored remarks and begin the program.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. I hope you have your cafecito. I do. And it's a pleasure to be with you all today, this morning. Before we dive into the main presentation with Consul General Minuti, we have a few remarks and updates from our sponsors. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Frank Almaraz, Chief Administrative and Business Development Officer with CPS Energy, to provide an update on CPS Energy's FLEXPOWER Bundle RFP. This RFP was issued earlier in this week, and SAEDF has been working behind the scenes to help promote the RFP globally to companies from South Korea and Japan in coordination with the City of San Antonio. We know the first RFP issued back in 2013 attracted a handful of global companies, and we want to continue to see if that operation can happen here in San Antonio. Now, Frank, thank you for your sponsorship, and thank you for coming up and being here to share updates about this RFP and what it means for San Antonio. Frank, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilwoman Villagran, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. It's nice to see you this morning. Thank you, Sarah, and to the SAEDF for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I do have a couple slides for you this morning. I am, as Councilwoman noted, the Chief Administrative Officer for CPS Energy. We are the largest municipally owned utility, gas and electric utility in the United States. And we have a mandate to bring the best of what the world has to offer for our customers. And I'll talk a little bit more about our think globally and apply locally philosophy here in a minute. So on the next slide, I'll share just a little bit about CPS Energy to give you some context about us. So we're the oldest utility in Texas. We originated in 1860. We were purchased in 1942 by the City of San Antonio, and it's often been said that we were one of the best things that one of the best investments that the City of San Antonio has ever made. I think we've returned quite a lot in revenue transfer to the city and have been a great opportunity to maintain local ownership for our community. We are the largest solar power producer in Texas, and we're the 5th in the nation, and we're the 2nd largest wind power producer in Texas. And if you know the Texas market, then you know that that is a big statement. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of solar and wind resource capability in Texas, and we are way up there. We also have a premier credit rating of an AA+ credit rating, and that's something we're really proud of. It keeps costs low for our customers, and it ensures that when we're working with an external party, that they know that our credit is good, and we can sign up for a long-term agreement with an external party, and that benefits everybody. On the next slide, I'll note for you that we are a fully integrated utility. We have Elsewhere in Texas, in the competitive market, there's a utility segment that operates the customer-facing aspect, and then there's one that operates that wires and poles. We do it all from start to finish. We make the electricity, we transmit it, we distribute it, and we interface with our customers and serve them. And ultimately, that gives us a fair amount of advantage in the ways that we can deploy products and services for our customers. Next slide, please. So this is a dynamic time in the utility industry. I think most folks would think of it as kind of a static industry, and maybe that's not been too far from the truth for a long time, but it's really under a significant amount of accelerating change. In the past, we had power plants. We built those to growing load that we knew was growing reliably, and we served that load with those power plants. Today, this used to be, we used to talk about this as the future. So we'd have the traditional power plants plus renewables, storage, smart grid, energy efficiency. Well, that has now become today. We are doing all of those things on our system at CPS Energy. We have award-winning smart grid and energy efficiency programs in addition to the renewables that I mentioned before. And we also have energy storage at a smaller scale currently. In the future, we put all of those things together and we continue to transition our power generation fleet to something that's lower carbon and it adopts additional technology for our customers. And that the timing of the commercialization, the commercial viability of that technology will drive the timing of our ability to bring it to our community. So we're eagerly awaiting those transitions. Next slide, please. I mentioned a second ago that we think globally and we apply locally. And with that in mind, we have a need to add additional generation capacity to our system. And we want to bring the best of what the world has to offer. So we issued an RFP, just as the councilwoman mentioned earlier this week. And I think in the chat, Sarah has just provided a link to it. So appreciate that, Sarah. Thank you. We want everybody to know about it. We issued it in many languages. We have distributed it all over the globe so that everybody who has the potential to bring an innovative, cost-effective project to us for our evaluation, that everyone's aware of it. We wanted, through this initiative, to raise global visibility, make sure that we're bringing the most innovative solutions that we can, and reveal the market conditions that have been impacted by COVID-19. It's unclear what the resulting market conditions are going to be given the supply chain and other constraints that have happened as a result of COVID-19. So we're eagerly awaiting submissions. Next slide, please. And we can skip past this one, please. So the FLEXPOWER bundle, as I noted, it is it was released earlier this week, and we're now accepting bids. That will be available for a couple of months, and you can find the exact time frame on our website. But we have a significant amount of generation capacity that you can see on the left, gas steam units that were built in 1966, 68, 1970. So they're approaching end of life as it is. They are becoming less efficient, and as folks out there that operate heavy equipment, industrial equipment know, when things get older, they break down more, and so they're less reliable. And we at CPS Energy have an obligation to serve our community, and we need reliable resources to do that. So as those units reach end of life, and become less reliable between now and then, we decided that the time was right to go out for an all-source RFP to replace that capacity eventually. This doesn't completely replace it, but it's the first step in making that replacement. And that is, the important components are up to 900 megawatts of solar, depending on what pricing and characteristics that we get back, up to 50 megawatts of storage, and then an all-source component related to the firming capacity. As you know, when the sun doesn't shine, solar producing power doesn't produce. When the wind doesn't blow, it's not producing power. So through a combination of 50 megawatts of utility scale storage and a firming component of our RFP, we're going to firm that up so that it's available to our community all the time, day or night, wind or no wind. And we're really excited about this. When we did the last 400 megawatt solar RFP, that was market moving at the time. And it had positioned us to be where we are in terms of our leadership in solar in the nation. And this is going to be market moving as well. There are some projects out there that are pretty big. This one is big and market moving in the sense that it is comprehensive. And it's that comprehensive bundled approach that we think is the secret sauce and adds the value for our community. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, here's a link. And once again, you can also find it in the chat. We have the portal having opened just a couple of days ago, I guess 5 days ago. And the deadline for submittal of questions would be January the 12th. And the deadline for proposal submittals would be February the 1st. So if you're interested or know somebody that's interested, we are so excited to bring this to you and hope that you'll click on the link, have a look, and make sure that everybody who needs to know about it is aware so that they have an opportunity to compete for this business. We think it's going to be fantastic, and we at CPS Energy are pleased and excited to be able to bring this to the market and ultimately bring this back to our community to serve them. So thank you once again for your attention this morning. Really appreciate being with you today. And yes, I have my coffee here as well, Councilwoman. So appreciate that reminder. Thank you so much, everybody.